Hello, everyone. Welcome to NetElixir's webinar on the recent Google announcements, what you should know and what you should do. We really appreciate you all jumping on here on a little bit short notice, but we wanted to make sure that we stayed up to date on Google's recent announcements on Tuesday. I am Caitlin Knaus, and I'll be kicking off the webinar here. So what this webinar is really focused on and about is the recent announcements and changes that Google made at their Innovation Summit on Tuesday, May 24th. Here's the YouTube link. Many of you may have read and watched live or seen some articles following up. As a digital marketing agency, and a close Google partner, we wanted to jump on these issues and make sure that you all knew what was important and what actions you should take right away to stay ahead of the curve. As I mentioned, NetElixir is a digital marketing agency. We were incorporated in 2005, just over 12 years ago, and we're a team of over 100 fanatically analytical search marketers. Our team has over 5.5 million hours of hands-on experience working with hundreds of e-commerce retailers. Our solution set falls into 3 buckets. We have services, technology, and consulting, as you can see here. Our services include paid search and SEO, as well as social media. And our technology suite is our Elixir marketplace, where we have paid search tools, SEO tools, free and very low cost. And then we also offer consulting services, including analytics, strategy, and executive dashboards. All of these solutions are really focused around helping make sure that you're able to humanize every click and understand what your consumers are looking for and what they're doing on the internet. Here's a small list of some of our clients that we work with and also some of our partners, including UPS. With that, I'll introduce our CEO, Udain Bose. He also founded NetElixir and formerly founded PartyBingo.com, part of Party Gaming. He's also a guest lecturer at several universities, including Cornell, City University of New York, and the Indian School of Business. For our webinar today, we're going to have a very set structure. How it's going to work is Udain will take you through each one of Google's major announcements from Tuesday. He'll then share NetElixir's point of view on that announcement or change, and then give concrete and actionable next steps on what you can do to take advantage of the changes.
Thank you, Caitlin. Hi, everyone. This is Udain Bose, and I'll just kick off this segment. I'll start off with a pretty radical statement. This feels like 2005. This feels like 2005 when NetElixir was just about a year old, and Google was still experimenting with a lot of their new features, new modules were coming out, and so on. It wouldn't be wrong for me to comment that what Google did in terms of the announcements on the 24th of May compares exactly with that in 2005, all of 11 years back, in just purely in terms of magnitude and what I believe in terms of the potential impact that those changes and announcements can have for an advertiser's business. 24th of May may very well go down as one of the key dates when Google sort of shifted. The shift came in multiple directions. The shift came from a desktop-centric approach to a mobile-centric approach. The shift came from looking at customers as clicks to customers as people and trying to map their behavior through the programmatic thing. It came from making a huge jump, which I'll be talking about, Google trying to go much beyond just search marketing and trying to be the marketing management company or the omnichannel marketing management company of the world. As Caitlin mentioned, my presentation would be sort of capturing all the key announcements that Google made on the 24th, which is almost exactly about 48 hours back. We'll have our point of view on most of these. Some of these are still a little half-baked in terms of the point of view because the magnitude of those announcements are so huge. It's very difficult to really still cull through and understand in great depth as to what it really means and can potentially mean. And lastly, we'll also have come up with a list of recommendations based on the analysis, the initial 48-hour analysis that we have done. So without further ado, let me just start off with the first announcement. So on 24th, Google announced that they will be launching expanded text ads for a superior mobile user experience. They have tested out this format and it has led to about a 20% increase in click-through rates. In terms of the overall real estate available to you in your text ad, it goes up by almost about 50%, 50%. And I have this nice GIF which sort of shows as to how exactly it looks like. As you can see, the headline sort of becomes a lot longer. And then the entire description is in about 80 characters. Very clearly, Google has designed this keeping in mind the mobile first strategy that seems to be very clearly in play out here. What our recommendation would be, at NetElixir, we are a very firm believer of constant testing, experimentation on each and everything. Probably that's the reason why we are almost like branded or labeled as fanatically analytical search marketing firm. Our recommendations would be in line with that. We would very strongly recommend that you test the 80-character description and the longer headlines to understand what copy would work for you and what doesn't work for you. Because the ad format is new to you or will be new for you, but it will be also new for customers, and the consumer experience and how consumers respond to the ads may be different from what their overall response to that ad particular currently is. So as a part of the NetElixir Ad Lab initiative, we have been doing multiple tests on the ad copies, each and every element. We'll be also constantly publishing the results from time to time, just to get a sense as to what it is. Currently, you can refer to our ad copy championship webinar, which we hosted in the month of October last year. And this is the link wherein you can just sort of have a free download of that webinar. It gives you insights as to what elements. Is it an exclamation mark which drives a higher click-through rate? Is it buy now? And what is the impact of buy now in terms of including the click-through rate? The core reason is because the 80 characters, no one probably has an experience and understanding as to how customers would react. So our recommendation would very clearly be test, test, and test. The interesting part is we would start to recommend you to first implement this for trademark terms. Why trademark terms? Because you have a higher or greater real estate, so you can effectively block off a lot of your competition if your ad really sort of spans a wider amount in the space. And the second part is in the bottom of the funnel keywords. We believe that the competition in the mid of the funnel and the broader keywords would be quite intense. So essentially, we want to start experimenting this format first with trademark terms or brand term keywords, and then the bottom of the funnel or the long tail keywords as well. And we would definitely recommend testing constantly. Another very interesting development with ETAs, there are two paths or directories that can be added to the display URL. And a very interesting SEM hack would be to basically bid on your competitors' trademark terms and use those terms in the display URL. Right? Again, I sort of repeat that. Bid on your competitors' trademark terms and use those terms in the display URL. It's a hack. So any hack, needless to mention, needs to be a little controversial. Otherwise, what's the fun of having a hack? So the only caveat is that Google's trademark restrictions are currently, at this point in time, not applicable for display URLs. They probably would be down the road. But at this point in time, that's an opportunity for you to really go ahead and bid or advertise on the competitor terms. Let us move on to the second announcement. The second announcement, in my opinion, was one of the biggest that they made. One of the constant challenges we face as an AdWords ad marketer is trying to sort of have a percentage higher or percentage lower bids compared to the initial desktop bid. Right? And this was essentially because Google always had this desktop-centric approach. Mobile was an extension of that entire campaign. But with this change, you can set individual bids for each device type. So you can have a different bid for tablets, a different bid for phone, and a different for desktop. That is a massive announcement by Google because it sort of gives you tremendously greater control. It gives you a lot more flexibility, and you can be a lot more creative in bid management. I mean, through the course of my presentation, and that's how we really operate as a company, I would constantly keep on pushing you for trying to build campaigns which focuses on the consumer behavior and based on the understanding of the consumer insights and consumer behavior. It is our firm opinion that the consumer behavior changes when someone is using a mobile phone versus someone is sort of browsing and searching through a desktop. So essentially, you can be very creative in your bidding strategy for each of the devices, and with this change, you definitely should have a stronger control over your CPA across tablet devices, which has been historically a challenge because tablet sales and overall search conversion rates have not really been at that level of mobile devices or mobile phones. So this will really help to cut down the cost across tablets. Again, not to really play the naysayer here, but Google probably is a little late in the game because Bing Ads and Yahoo already had it since inception, the ability to sort of uniquely bid on each device. We also have a formula for you. As I mentioned, NetElixir recommends is all about using a lot of analytics, a lot of mathematics, and just sort of giving you some tools which can really help you navigate this rather new scenario that you will sort of experience. So use this formula. It's for any device bid adjustment. Just do a value per device click. When you say value per device click, we are talking about revenue per device. Let us say revenue per smartphone divided by the number of clicks, and divide that by value per campaign click. So value per campaign click is revenue from a particular campaign divided by the number of campaigns, and subtract 1. So essentially that is the formula which can really help you to set those initial bids as you really move into a unique individualized device level bidding strategy. If you have any questions, please feel free to sort of add it to the question and the comment board, and I'll be sort of taking all the questions at the end of the presentation. If we run out of time, because there is a lot of content still out there, we will definitely sort of reach out back to you through an email and share the answers. You can also get the answers from our blog.netelixir.com. The third announcement, simplifying the Google display advertising for greater impact. Again, quite a massive sort of announcement. This really leads to a terrific operational ease. I'll actually go to the fourth bullet first. Basically, one of the key challenges, in my opinion, why Google is doing this, because one big reason that the display ads or the display network has never really measured up to the same level as text ads in terms of results or performance is because the ad creatives are fairly insipid. I mean, they really fail to evoke a desired emotion. Also, there are challenges in terms of formats, templates, sizing, etc. So Google, what it is saying is, they are saying that give us the content, the image, and the URL, and we'll take care of making it responsive and sort of set it up in the right platforms. So if there is a different format which is required for one particular publication and a different one for the second one, Google will take care of that. This is tremendous operational ease. This also unlocks a very important thing, that the native ad inventory of Google as well. And last but not least, the app advertising becomes more effective. Some of you may be familiar with this concept which Google has been testing, specifically on the Jelly Bean software or the version of Android, which essentially leads to you don't really have to download the app. It automatically sort of comes up. You just sort of click and you can use the app without downloading, using the app. So specifically in the context of that, what we believe is, combined with a focus of operational ease and app advertising becoming even more frictionless, that is an area Google seems to have pretty serious plans moving forward as well. Again, the entire thing has been presented in a way which is entirely focused on the operational ease, and rightfully so. Our recommendation, this is mostly for the mobile optimized website. So we have left out the apps at this point in time. We would very strongly recommend you to capture the top of the funnel searches for branding, and essentially so don't really go with the same keywords and the same creative for every stage of the funnel, right? You have a different audience and a different message and a different branding for each stage in the funnel as such. So I see some questions or comments. Let me just quickly check. I hope I am audible enough. I wanted to do a quick check. Is everyone able to hear me? If you can just sort of say yes, that will be greater. Perfect. Excellent. Thank you. I'm just doing a quick check to ensure that everyone is essentially able to hear. Yeah. So moving on to the next one. This, in my opinion, is the #1 announcement. I have a personal preference probably, but harnessing the impact, the local impact of mobile search. Again, as I mentioned, this may be the most exciting announcement made on the 24th of May. There are two very important facts, very important insights which Google is really using to really make this change. The first one is the searches on Google Maps have increased by 50%. Every month, 1.5 billion destinations are visited based on the searches done on Google. 1.5 billion destinations visited based on searches done on Google. The second insight, or the second fact, is 30% of all the mobile searches are location related, right? So many of you would have heard that near me searches have just sort of gone through the roof. So what we are seeing is mobile searches are having a massive influence and an impact in driving store visits. In fact, Google conducted a study, quite a substantial study, in which the results were the store visits through search actually exceeded the online purchase made. Let me repeat that line just to ensure that everyone understand what I am talking about. This is quite substantial. The store visits through search actually exceed the online purchases through search. So essentially, for every order which has been sort of placed online, you have at least one prospective customer who is stepping in the store. And this would be the only announcement where I have 2 point of view slides. The second point of view slide essentially is Google made also a very clear declaration that it is the world's largest omni-channel measurement provider. And based on all the announcements, there is a very clear focus on bridging the gap between online and offline. In fact, Jerry, who sort of led this particular segment in Google, started by saying that 90% of the sales are still done in the stores and 10% at most is online. Our research as well as published research shows it is more about 93% is probably still in store and 7% is online. So understandably, Google is trying to reduce the friction, aspiring to eliminate the friction between offline and the online worlds, and understandably earn some credits for doing that. And one tremendously important format which was launched was promoted pins, which will be tested by Google over the next few months. So let me explain the concept of promoted pins, and this is something which, in our opinion, would be one of the more important ad formats going forward any channel as such. So let us say you are driving from point X to point Y. Let us say you are in New York and you are sort of driving from the 5th Avenue probably to Lexington. On the way, Google would actually sort of track and give you those pointers if you are advertising through promoted pin, where there is a Starbucks, where there is a Walgreens, as you can see in this case, and so on and so forth. So that is something which is very unique. So Google is using the fact that it has tremendous amount of searches happening on Google Maps, with the fact that most of these searches are happening via mobile devices or mobile phones, and blending together these to actually sort of give you almost like different pins through your entire journey path. So that is, I think, what the overall impact is. In our opinion, this would be one of the most important formats, ad formats moving forward. There are certain very important basic fundamental to-dos for you, and this is what we recommend. Beef up your local SEO listings by using structured data. Beef up your local SEO listings, because unless and until your business has a local presence or you're locally listed, none of this stuff would really work for you. In fact, here is a link of a tool, a structured data testing tool that we would strongly encourage all of you to use to check, is your site really going to be visible in the local SEO listings or not? The second concept is an equally important concept. The concept is single view of stock. So let us say you are Walgreens and you probably run about 10,000 different stores across the country, right? It is very, and you obviously have an online presence, you have a mobile presence, etc. It is very important for you as advertiser to have a single view of stock. Let us say something in probably Edison, New Jersey, the Walgreens center which is there does not really have as many of Dove soaps, a particular variant, right? That single view of stock becomes essential because through this process, Google is trying to again use the fact that it is the largest omni-channel measurement provider and trying to bring together and bind together all the forms of advertising. Last but not the least, the local inventory management and SKU specific promotions per location or per store would become equally important as well. So Google Shopping Feed, just the basics, fundamentals of Google Shopping Feed has to be taken a little more seriously. The best practices have to be adhered to, and it requires a real-time management to really sort of make it successful. Again, I have presented two very important concepts on this recommendation slide. The first concept is beef up your local SEO listings by using structured data. The second is have a single view of the stock and really have a clean, seamless, real-time managed feed. So essentially, what is sort of Google trying to do? So Google is very clearly making a big push to connect the online and offline customer journeys, right? At the end of it, it's a very clear step jump from a keyword-centric approach to a customer journey-focused approach. And they are trying to connect the online and offline customer journeys through mobile, through maps, through localization, and even through beacons, so that you are able to really track the in-store consumer behavior. So that is a massive shift in how search marketing is done today. Actually, I should be saying how marketing should be done today is what basically Google's this announcement essentially really ushered in. The next announcement is Google also sort of, I'll just go through these really quick because these are more of the operational announcements. They are redesigning the AdWords interface, and this almost like validates my point why they are trying to move from just being a search marketing firm to being almost like a marketing platform, right? So the AdWords platform would be simplified significantly so that you are focusing on the marketing goals and the overall broad marketing strategy ideas, rather than dabbling too much in terms of changing bids and doing all those very specific, specialized micromanagement tactics, which may not really be in alignment with your overall marketing goals as such. They have also mobile-friendly design for marketers, and it's definitely inspiring to see how Google is embracing material design. And I must say, when this announcement was made, the entire team at NetElixir, we had all sort of banded together and watching this presentation, and we let out a collective groan. And the reason is because just about 2 months back, we had launched our own AdWords recommendation engine called Elixir Guide at Martech, and which was started as the first example of artificial intelligence for Google AdWords management. This is exactly what our motivation was, that the advertiser should be much more focused on the marketing goals and the overall ideas and strategies, rather than dabbling too much with the clicks and the bids and the ad copies and so on. Let the machine or technology take care of that. So while this is a very important announcement, but I must say that we are not essentially super pleased. The next one is the Google Analytics. Very clearly, this is moving into more of an insights engine rather than being an analytics platform as such. They are using machine learning again. Effectively, again, just keeping it very, very, very quick. Google Analytics 360 suite, Google Data Studio 360 so essentially they are very clearly transitioning from making it an analytics tool to an answer engine or maybe a smart insights engine as such. Interestingly, all this is very progressive, going to the next level, but we still struggle to see every day there are so many Google advertisers, marketers who have not still fixed the basic tag of Google Analytics tag. They are still not really using the basic version of Google Analytics as such. Let this be almost like a wake-up call for all of you to really get your analytics in place. We will also at NetElixir be hosting Analytics Week from June 13th to 17th. Every day it will be 1 hour of analytics training. By our team, we'll have some guest expert speakers. In fact, we'll have a very senior speaker from Google as well. And if you are interested in joining this, please send us an invite, a request for an invite at university@netelixir.com. The next announcement, again, there are just, it's a tremendously content heavy, but again, that 24th of May was a little unique. And I must sort of at this point in time pause a little bit. I know we had kept 2 to 2:30, but just given the number of announcements, we may actually sort of overextend by probably about 5 or 7 minutes. So, but for anyone who's unable to spend more time, we'll be sort of sending out a copy of this presentation to everyone. There would be recording available as well. But if you have to leave, please, know that most of the key points have been covered. There are about 2 or 3 other important points, but that's pretty much covering all the announcement. But again, 24th May was a very unique and a different day. So it's difficult to really capture all of this stuff. This is more of similar audiences in search for optimizing campaigns. So it's very clearly a leap towards programmatic advertising, right? We talked very briefly about consumer behavior, understanding the consumer behavior. This is very clearly Google's focus on, rather than making targeting keywords, it is trying to really treat those clicks as human beings and try to really offer them an ad experience which really provokes an optimal response from their side. We also, for the first time, Google is really providing the capability to target non-visitors through allowing similar audiences, which is, it's called twin targeting, but this is also a pretty massive announcement from their side. So the question to all of you is, are you ready for the programmatic era? That's a big question. That's a huge question, right? Are you ready to have unique ads and offer for similar audiences? Are you ready to have target and bid for the top and the middle of the funnel keywords? And do you have the capability or ability to track performance per audience list, per message, etc.? So this very clearly is Google's open shout out that the programmatic era is here to stay. The next announcement, again, I'm sort of, pardon me if I'm just going very quickly. Please feel free to sort of put your questions there. We would, as I mentioned, definitely sort of try to answer each and every question. The demographics in search enabling differential targeting is again in the programmatic sequence, right? This essentially, probably to an extent inspired by Facebook, you can very clearly target different demographic segments. You can also create your own granular audience sets and really have a customized message targeting towards them. Since it was already in practice by other channels, we would not really spend too much time, but this is something which Google also announced as well. So what should you do as a marketer? You should implement differential bid adjustments and ads for different demographic segments, right? For example, let us say a women's apparel category. You can show separate ads for obviously men and women for the same keywords, etc. So I'll sort of leave you with 3 very important points. And all of these 3 points are more of, I guess, philosophical points or bigger points. As I mentioned when I started off, this really feels like 2005. And as responsible marketers, it's very, very important for all of us to really sort of sit back, think through, and really understand how exactly we really sort of fit in this new scheme of things per Google. I don't think I have to really emphasize or mention or restate that Google dominates the digital marketing industry. And all these changes made very clearly shows that it is not really going anywhere soon, right? So the question for you is, how will you really fit in this new world of Google? As AdWords is getting transformed from being a search marketing platform to an omni-channel marketing platform, how will you really sort of fit in this world when mobile plus local is becoming the new normal? That's the norm, right? Because that is what is sort of Google is using to bridge the gap between offline and online. How exactly will you fit into a future which is very clearly programmatic? So with this, I'll sort of come to the end of my presentation. I'll sort of hand it back to Caitlin. But again, any questions, please feel free to just sort of text me or ping me here. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you all for participating in our webinar, and we hope you found it very useful. As you can tell from Udain's talk, we're very excited about the future here and what we can do with the new changes to Google's ads and analytics. In the coming weeks, we'll be covering each of these announcements in more detail, touching on each one, again, addressing any of the questions that you've all sent in the box. You can subscribe to our blog at blog.netelixir.com to get updates and see all of these in-depth analysis. Also, if by chance you'll be attending the upcoming convention, IRCE, June 7th to June 10th in Chicago, we will be there and we'll be in booth 1008, booth 1008. Please stop by and say hello. We'll have more information on this. Udain will also be there for a day or two, so we would love to talk to you and talk about the future of marketing. With that, again, we'll be following up with questions. Feel free to reach out to us, and we really appreciate you taking this 32 minutes today and hope that you found it useful and beneficial. Thank you.